Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Keep It Kula Podcast. My name is Jacqueline, and I have a very special guest joining me today. This person is a former NFL player who spent most of his career with the Titans. He was an All-Pro and a four-time Pro Bowler, nicknamed as the Hitman. This guy was also described as the heart and soul of his team. Following his career, he began working in sports media, and you can even catch him with the Tennessee Titans radio team. Give it up for Titans legend Blaine Bishop. Welcome to the show, Blaine. How are you doing?
Appreciate it, Jacqueline, for that warm introduction. And also, I'm on 104.5 The Zone every day from 1 to 3
One
Central
to
Time.
three as
hmm
well. Yeah, you are in so many different kind of sport media worlds. You jumped into that right after your career, right? Which
Yes,
is
I did.
quite amazing. But I want to start. Wait, first of all, you're a basketball fan, right? Are you a Pacers fan?
Well, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana.
So
Of
you are a
course,
Pacers fan?
when you grew up in Indiana, there's nothing but basketball. So, yeah, they're in a tough task. I predicted that the OKC would win it in six. So,
Yeah.
but I'm still cheering for the Pacers and just happy, they're in the finals and hopefully they can, pull it off, some upsets here. They hadn't been back since 2000. I was part of I was playing ball there when Reggie Miller and crew all
Oh,
made it back then. So
wow.
it reminds me a lot of that team.
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't born yet. I'm born in 2001. So
Yeah. Oh, so like, yeah. So they were in 2000. That's why you didn't know the pace. Yeah, they played the Lakers. I think they only won like one game
wow.
or something like that. But they had to get past the Bulls and the Knicks, so it was really tough.
Wow. I have hope for them. You know, Pascal Siakam is one of my favorite guys. He
Yes,
didn't
he
have a good
is.
game last night, but I think he
Yeah.
can really pull it to, he won a championship in Toronto 6 years
Toronto, yeah,
ago. So,
yeah. He did.
I,
I mean, yeah, he was a surprise performer there with
yeah.
what was the stud player's name there with the
Kawhi
Clippers?
Leonard.
Yeah, Leonard. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Kawhi. Kawhi's a special player. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was great times there for the Raptors. So
It was
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, so yeah, we'll move a little from basketball. I just want to make sure that you're
yeah.
watching your Pacers. All right, I want to start off with your career, with your NFL career. You had a legendary career, known as the Tennessee Titans legend. I want to start off. How did you even get into playing football? I'm going back a little bit.
Oh yeah. Well, that's interesting because for me, my mom had me. I grew up in a single family home, and pretty much most of my life, my mom and dad got divorced when I was like
Mhm.
3, and he was around, till I was, teenager type. But she had me involved in everything. It was just to keep me busy and see if I like something, if I, start to love it. And I really loved football. Out of all the things I did, I still did a lot of, track, basketball. I was a big time swimmer, actually. That's where I had a lot of my success. And that ended up, really helping my body development, swimming a lot and been a freestyle and a diver as well.
Wow.
So those things work really hand in hand with football. And I was a running back, and naturally in my era, running back was the best player. So I was typically one of the best players on the team, and I just kept having success every game I played, and it just came natural and easy to me. And so I just kind of expounded on that, and I loved it. I watched it on TV. I was already like scouting guys as a young kid, like, oh, this player in this team. And growing up, we didn't have the Colts at the time. They didn't
Mhm.
move there till I was in middle school. So we got all the Bears games and the Cowboys games. So they're in Indianapolis. So I became a big Cowboys fan at the time. So yeah, I knew all those players during that era.
Yeah.
With Danny White at the quarterback, and starting off with Tony Dorsett, and know a little bit of history there with Roger Staubach and all the receivers. So that was all pretty cool. And then I played for the Cowboys, Little League Cowboys. So we
Yeah,
were the
yeah.
Cowboys. So that kind of really worked hand in hand. And I loved it. I'd watch it day and night and start practicing broadcasting the games when I would sit at home. And so I thought I never thought I'd make it to the NFL. So I thought I actually wanted to be a broadcaster when I was growing up. So I would copy the broadcast guys on TV and stuff and do their, imitate their voices and
Yeah.
try to, give my emphasis and have fun with it at the time. So
That's
it's pretty
awesome, man.
interesting. I got to I'm doing two things that I loved growing up, and I don't know how many people could say that. So I feel like I'm really blessed.
That's a dream right there. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you
it
say,
was.
you didn't know if you'd be able to make it to the league. You were doing
Yeah.
broadcasting. You were considered an undersized player, and
Yes.
you were drafted. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but you were drafted in the eighth round back in it was 1993, I believe, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So did you think those dreams were happening because you did get drafted, or were you thinking because I'm drafted after the 200th pick, there's no chance I'm going to be able to make a team?
Well, I'll take you a little bit before that.
Yeah.
I was all city, all state, and all everything you can make in high school. Actually, I played both ways. I went to Cathedral High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, private Catholic school, and we won state my junior year. And then senior year, uh, I got a little banged up, but I played mostly offense and defense. But I made all my awards at defensive back, never a running
Yeah.
back. Which was my heart and passion, by the way.
Yeah.
I love running back, but I wasn't dumb enough to say, "Oh, this is what I'm going. I'm going to play running back," because I would have never made it to the NFL running back. Rest assured of that. So I wasn't highly recruited because of my size, as you mentioned a little bit earlier about my size. And I was 5'9". I think they thought I was listing like I was shorter than that, but I was
Yeah.
5'9".
Love that.
And and usually people in high school 5'9" means you're 5'7". So so I ended up going to a Division II school in Rensselaer, Indiana, called St. Joseph's College. And the reason why I'm telling this story because I believe that I was a Division I player, and I only wanted to play Division I football. And I grew up in Indianapolis, being a Notre Dame fan. I'm being honest,
Mhm.
and we were the Cathedral Fighting Irish, so our uniforms and everything looked
Oh,
just like theirs.
yeah.
So I wanted to go to Notre Dame. Naturally, they said, you weren't good enough, too small, and all those things. So I went to Division II school, not having any Division I offers. And about the fourth game of the season, I was playing defensive back. I started on defensive back as a freshman, and then the fourth game, we had a couple guys get injured at running back, and so going into that game, they said that you'll be the backup running back. I'd play both ways, but I started,
Mhm.
and hopefully you don't have to play running back. And
Mhm.
so, this is, how the man upstairs really works. Ended up playing running back. So I scored twice at running back, and then I scored twice on defensive back while I returned a punt. And then I intercepted the ball for a touchdown. Just so happened, after that game, uh, there were two scouts there, the Jets and the Giants. And they said, you got a shot at the National Football League. This is
Wow.
literally 4 months or so, 4 to 6 months after nobody even recruited me as a Division I player. And so I didn't really, I took a back to it, but then I just like, wow, because it was still earlier in the season.
Sure.
And I was just like, and I had a great game, and they were there to watch some other player on the other team.
Okay.
And so after the season was up is when I really thought about it when I made Division II All-American.
Mhm.
So I then went back to my high school coach, who's also the president of the school, and asked him, was I a Division I football player now? That was my whole goal. I wanted to just play Division I football. And
That
so
was
he told me,
that was the dream.
yeah, that was the dream. And, so he was like, well, you can go to Indiana State, football program's not bad. And, you probably start right away there. And Ball State, you'll probably, the rules are different. So you have to sit out a year, but you can use that as the redshirt year.
Mhm.
And then you go to IU because he knew I had to go close because I couldn't afford to
Yeah.
pay. And he said, you have to walk on. So I walked on at Ball State. He had called him Ball State, he called Ball State. And I
Mhm.
walked on there. And so it was really a 1 year trial, in my opinion. And I had to sit out, but I get to showcase all my skills at practice. And fortunate enough for me, after the first semester, the defensive coordinator came to me, Rick Mentor, and said that we're going to put you on scholarship, but you have to compete to start at corner, or you can be third string running back. And I said, looked at him and said, I'm not third string at nothing. So I'm going to defensive back, but I'm real curious, coach. Who am I competing with?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
naturally, they had recruited two guys that year that started at Ball State that came out of high school the same year I did. So
Okay.
and he's like, don't worry about that. It'll take care of itself. So, competed, and, I ended up starting, and then the other guys all played too as well. But I started and implemented myself there in corner, and never looked back, and
Mm.
made all conference and all those things. So
Wow.
yeah, after that, so it was kind of I always felt like I was the chosen one. I was very confident, but never cocky or
Yeah.
talking about. I knew if guys were better than me too. It was. just always being honest with myself. Like, dang, just like I said when I was third string running back, I'd be like, damn, man, I don't know if I'm gonna beat those other two dudes. That's what I
Yeah.
was really saying. In hindsight, I wasn't. And like, yeah, I'm not third string, so I want to play more than I want to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it all started there at Ball State, and had some great coaching there. Coach Burks is my defensive backs coach, and man, they really let my talent shine of what I could really do at
Mhm.
corner, and the rest is history there at Ball
Yeah.
State.
And
So,
did you think though that your career was done there with college because you were drafted so late? Because I believe you said before that, you didn't even have a draft party because you didn't even think you would necessarily be drafted or be able to make a team.
no, well, I had an agent. I went through the agent process, and
Hmm.
different guys were calling. Once I got an agent, uh, they all they all firmly believed that I was getting drafted.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, you'll probably be a fourth round, fifth round, or later round pick. So there was no doubt that they thought I was going to get drafted.
Okay.
Um, but I had already heard stories about how guys, especially from Ball State, it's a little bit of conjecture when you go to I'm not going to say a small school because Ball State's a big school,
Mhm.
but not a football power.
Yeah.
And so there was, I got invited to the Blue Gray game, the Senior Bowl,
Mhm.
performed well at both, and then I went to the Combine, got invited to the Combine. So all things are showing that, I would get drafted, getting invited to those. But during the season, coaches would tell me after the game, like 20 teams were there to watch me, and I'm like, why didn't y'all tell me? They were like, oh, you wouldn't have played any different. Yeah,
Yeah.
so then I knew it was real. And then at practice, they would be there and I'd have
Yeah.
conversation. But I was so, I think, focused. I didn't think about like, oh, I'm going to get drafted high. I thought, oh man, if I get drafted, that would be exceeding all dreams. I just wanted a shot.
Yeah.
I really just wanted a shot because I felt like then I could see how I really stack up. I was a rude, truest to the game, and I just wanted to see if I could really eclipse and be an NFL player. I wasn't sure, even though I went to all these different things and I kept elevating my game. It was, I'm playing better talent at the Senior Bowl. These are some of the best guys in the country. I mean,
Mhm.
Alabama won the national championship that year, and half the team was Alabama players. And I felt like, man, I'm just as good as those guys. He may be an inch taller than me. He may be a half step faster than me. But I thought, hey, man, on any given day, I can run with this guy. I mean, Quadra Ishmael on the other side. I mean, it was some fast, the missile, and all these people. And it kept building my confidence as
Mhm.
I was going along that, I belong. And I had some attributes to me. I was explosive naturally being a running back. So I was really strong. I could jump really high. So I did like 41.5-inch vertical at the combine. And so I did some things. There was some traits there, but I didn't know if I was really going to get drafted. Got a little disappointed because after the fifth round, I started seeing guys go that I had never heard of,
Mhm.
throughout the process of, where I was ranked. And so it behooved me a little bit. So I was
Yeah.
got real nervous. And now I didn't have a party. I wasn't a big party guy. And, I just had my roommates there. And then after the fifth round, they were like, hey, man, we got to go. We got to go. I was like, hey, I got to go too. I think I better go to the library and study for this test because I may not be getting drafted. So I
Yeah.
never really talked a lot about like what my, process and chances were to them. Even I think they thought more of it than I did.
Yeah.
One was a golfer and the other guy was on a golf scholarship, and the other was our punter who was my high school teammate, Damon Keller. So I think they thought about it more than I did. I really just wanted a shot,
Yeah.
and
And
that's kind of where it was. And then
and
yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of what
you
happened.
got it. You got the shot, and I guess you must have performed really well at training camp, and you built up to the player you became. And what was it like making that team, making the well at the time it was the Houston Oilers.
At that time, it was the Houston Oilers. But I'm gonna tell you this: when I first got there, I was like, "Why the heck did they draft me? They didn't need any quarterbacks because they had a three guys they had drafted the year before or 2 years before that, and they were really coming into their own. So I
Okay.
was like, man, I don't know if they really needed me because I was running like third team, and only the top. two guys to make the roster. So I
Yeah.
was really perplexed. I was like, man, it's going to be really hard. And training camp was really hard. It went from Indiana humidity to Texas humidity, and it was a totally different deal. And I really prided myself on being in shape. I always was nobody was going to beat me as far as conditioning.
Yeah.
But that was out the window that during there. So
Wow.
as a rookie, so I had a lot of luck go my way in training camp. And when I say that, is a couple guys got injured and they were out, like torn Achilles and torn ACLs, and I'm like, oh. They said, well, Blaine, we're gonna, I was playing like the nickel. We're gonna
Yeah.
move you to safety because we had some guys get hurt, and you just be a backup, but you're a smart player, and then you can learn the defense, and it's just temporary. So
Yeah.
I looked at it like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Then,
Wow.
yeah. So then, I was on special teams and running down in preseason and doing a good job. And then I got a little sprained knee. I never got injured at all in college or growing up or anything. And I got ear hold on a kickoff trying to be the first guy down.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And then I played the last preseason game and they said, yep, you made the roster. And,
Wow.
you start seeing articles in the paper talking about who is this guy from Ball State? He's not going to make the team. And then they start turning it around like, oh, this guy's guaranteed going to make the team.
Yeah.
So
This guy's the real deal.
yeah, so they kind of changed as we went on, but it was a maturation process because the NFL was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And there was parts of me like, hey man, that's when I came to this is different.
Yeah. This is not
These,
college
these,
anymore.
yeah, this is these dudes is big, strong, and fast, and it was wow, it was incredible. So I pushed the limits, and I finally rose to their level. But that's the fascinating part about it. It's unpredictable. I wish I was smart enough to come up with some type of technology to tell you how certain guys rise to the level of certain, the NFL, and then
Yeah.
some, whether you go to big schools, small schools, they can't rise to,
Mhm.
the level of play. I don't, you don't care where, if you went to Alabama or something, they just I don't know if he's gonna, and it's kind of weird. You just don't know. It's so unpredictable.
Yeah,
Uh,
look at the guys in the NFL. Of some quarterbacks were drafted first overall who become nothing, and then someone like Tom Brady, who was a late
right.
draft pick, becomes the greatest of all time.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah, I resonate with that because every position you have to carry with it some mental fortitude that will help make you successful.
Hmm.
And it's also, can you adapt your eyes to the speed of the game? So it took me a minute. Once I got to start, first game, I couldn't even tell you who the first guy blew by me, and I couldn't even tell you their number. But each game, it slowed down slowly but surely, and it started feeling like college again. And
Yeah.
once that happened, I said, uh-oh, I'm about to flourish. So I wish I knew how that happened. Like
Yeah.
the game was like boom, 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 and then I was like, oh my gosh. And then this is a live game. This is wow. Man, that guy could have earhole. I didn't see him at all. Where was he coming? I mean, so
Yeah.
and then it slowly started slowing down like it was college. And then once that happened, I knew. I said,
You
now
got
look
it.
here. Now I'm about to ball. But if that never happened, I don't know. I don't know if I would have been on the team more than a couple years.
That's very true. And listen, you became a great player, a pro bowler, but was there one player that you just hated playing against? That was receiver, running back, quarterback that would, kind of keep you on your toes a little more than other guys?
Oh, what? Somebody asked, my buddy asked me that one day, and I said I really couldn't tell him it. Man, I took every game as though it was a challenge.
Mhm.
Man, hmm I would say there was, you know, mm, Tony Gonzalez, because his athleticism and his size.
Mm.
Eventually when I get to safety, then we in our defense we play 1-on-1, and so he was definitely a handful athletically. So I had to make sure I had been on top of my game, and play different mental games as far as where I line and back off and just try to confuse him so I'd give me somewhat of an edge. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was super athletic in his era. Yeah,
He must have
he was
been.
really good.
He's one of the greatest tight ends of all time,
Yeah, he was
100%.
super
So
athletic.
that's
Yeah.
great. And what about? I know you had a huge game against Peyton Manning. Uh, one of your seasons, I was watching a video on that. What was that like? You know, as Peyton Manning obviously has gone down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Having a big game like that against him, and also is one of the best offenses in the NFL at the time. Was that really what put you over the top there of being like
Uh,
respected in Tennessee there?
well, that was funny because we had moved to Tennessee, and then we got to play them in the playoffs, and that was my hometown. So
Yes.
that's kind of how I looked at it, and I felt at home. We had won state there on that field in high school.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so when I'm jogging around the
Wow.
field, I'm jogging around the field, and I see Father Kelly. He is
Right.
their, chaplain for the Colts, but he was also the chaplain at my high school. And he hugs me, and everybody in high school called me by my nickname, which was Woody.
What do you
And
yeah.
he's like, Woody, who would have thought that you'd be standing on this field? And I laughed, and then I responded, not even Woody.
Where did Woody come from? What was that nickname for?
Well, my middle name was Elwood, and just everybody just called me
Oh,
Woody. Even in high school, growing up, and college too as well. He was on my Letterman jacket, so I just went by Woody.
wow.
Yeah,
Got you.
but then when I got to the pros, they were Blaine Bishop. I never corrected them or anything.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
my name.
it did become the Hitman as well, which I
Yeah,
do want to
yeah.
ask you where did that come from? Where did the Hitman come from? Because that's quite the nickname.
Uh, well, I had it in college, and I had put it on the back of my Letterman jacket, and that kind of just evolved and morphed into the league because I wouldn't say I was a big hitter in college. I was, but I just played hard.
Yeah.
But when I got to the league, I had to change that. I had to start start hitting people if I really wanted to survive.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
to be honest, it was survival mode. So that's kind of how that turned into that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of went by that in college, and it was on my Letterman jacket.
It's better than Woody, I would say.
Yeah.
Different.
It had a little bit of meaning to it, that's for sure.
That's great. Yeah, so as you said, yeah, so you had that big moment there against the Colts in your
Coach.
hometown,
Yeah, yeah.
and being able to really solidify yourself as a star safety in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the time, but I know that game I did have a really good game, and you know, eh, Coach Fisher said that was my best game in totality of like playing
Wow.
pass, run, and impacting the game even on blitzes, and Peyton Manning was still young in his career at that
Yeah.
time, so I probably got him. I did some things that I had never shown him because I saw he was looking at my feet during the game, so obviously I was giving him some form of a tip in the game
Yeah.
and watching film. So when I saw that, I said, I'm going to do everything opposite I had been doing previously. This is happening in the game in the first quarter, by the way. So I started, usually I'm a blitz. I start leaning and I start walking up to the line. So what I would do is start that, and then I had deep middle, and then line up on the line of scrimmage like I'm a blitz, and then I had deep middle. And so then I start mixing it up, and I think it just kind of confused him a little bit. At the same time, I think he would check into plays that would run right where the other safety was coming down because he
Yeah.
thought I was coming. So, those things happen. It's kind of cat and mouse game, and just so happened at that time we didn't play twice a year, so that was he was
Oh,
very unfamiliar really besides what he saw on film. And so I
yeah.
kept coming to the side like, hey coach, I think he's looking at my line. I must be doing something that he saw on film. And so I kept sitting there thinking about it the whole time. I'm like, man, I think I gotta change up what I normally do. And
Wow.
that's really what
That's
happened
where
in
it
that
went
game.
there.
Yeah.
And
So it was fun against the Edge and Hall of Fame players and Reggie Wayne and
yeah.
Marvin Harrison. And yeah, they had some really good players.
Quite the team, definitely one of the best offenses, I would say. I want to ask this as well. So you did not finish your career in Tennessee. You finished with the Eagles. How
Yeah.
did that come about of having one last year and it not being with the one team you were with for your entire career? How did that come about, and how was the adjustment? I know you were only there for one season, but was there a lot of emotions being away from your pretty much your home at that point?
Yeah, that was a tough time. I had never, as I said before, I'd never really missed games. And so that last season that I was with the Titans, I had a Liz Franks injury in my foot,
Mm.
and I had to miss games, and they had to put me on IR, and I had never been on IR because I couldn't run. I played with broken arms, scoped on my knee one week, played the next week. I mean, there was a lot of things I've done, but I couldn't play if my foot I couldn't play. So it needed rest, and so naturally when you're a veteran in the league and you're making a certain salary, at some point they had to let you go. So they let me go, and then I signed with Philadelphia and Andy Reid and crew,
Mm.
and played with some tremendous. Brian Dawkins is a man. That guy was incredible.
Yeah.
But Troy Vincent, Bobby Taylor, Hugh Douglas, the list goes on. They had some great guys. Levon Kirkland there with me, and we had some veteran guys they brought in. And, Antonio Freeman from the Packers. They really Brian Westbrook. They had it running back McNabb.
Yeah.
They really had a great unit. So I was really searching for that ring. So I wanted to go to a team that I thought had a great shot, and we made it to the NFC Championship. And
Mm.
my body failed me again that time, and then that would have been I had to get another surgery. So I tore my groin, and that was it. That's why they wanted me to come back, but I thought that my body was telling me it was time. And because I said if I have to do one more surgery, and I had never missed games, but I was starting to miss games, and that tells you what your body is trying to tell you, and so
Definitely.
that's what ended that. But man, I hated it because we lost the NFC Championship, and it was a tough decision I had to make. I kept playing through it in a game where I should have took myself out, and I didn't.
Mm. Going back a little bit there, you played in the Super Bowl against the Rams, against
Yeah,
Kurt Warner's Rams, and
yeah.
you guys ended up losing the game. How do you bounce back from that? And also, what would you say to younger guys in the league who have dealt with that, who have gotten so far and were underdogs in a season and don't end up winning at all? What do you say to them in their career?
Mm. Well, we played the greatest show on turf, and we had beat them earlier in that year. And they were in the other conference, so we played them here at home. It wasn't on turf; it was on grass,
Mm-hmm.
and had some success against them. And we came out with a different game plan. Kind of say we're gonna get after the quarterback, play some man to man, and you know, you win some and you lose some. But here's one thing I would tell young people is that you always get to write your own story. And, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. The failings in life or in sports, it's not about those actual failures. It's about how you respond to those failures. And for me, after losing them, I trained harder than I ever thought, and I wanted to make it back. And we were gonna beat them if they made it back because it was they were so good. You thought they were gonna make it back.
Yeah.
Uh, and then but we didn't make it back. And actually, that team was the best team I was on, which we lost to the Ravens in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Uh, we didn't even make it back. They did. And they beat the Giants, which we
Mhm.
smoked the Giants that year in the regular
Yeah.
season at the end, the
Yeah.
last regular season. Matter of fact, I didn't even play the half of the third and the fourth quarter because we had beat them so bad
Ooh.
in the regular season. Yeah, there.
Wow.
So I knew the Ravens were gonna get. We were the two best teams in
Wow.
the league. That was pretty clear.
Wow. That's something. Yeah. So I know you got to go soon, but I just want to ask you this. So you work very closely with the Titans. Obviously, right after your career, you kind of jumped into the radio and the sport media.
Mhm.
Titans had a bad year last year. They haven't
Yeah.
really been getting it going, as we all know. They drafted Cam Ward first overall. Warren Moon gave him his blessing to wear his number. What are your predictions and what are your hopes for the Titans and Cam Ward for the upcoming 2025 season?
Oh wow. Hmm. Prediction. I would just say make sure they're very, very competitive. If they could squeak into the playoffs some form of way, that would probably be the max they could do. But from what I've seen out of Cam Ward, he is a true polished quarterback in that the way he processes information, way he goes through his progression reads so far with no pads on, by the way, during
Mm,
their mini camp and OTAs. I'm thoroughly impressed with them. And they've got some better weapons for him on the outside as well as some protection on the offensive line. So he should have somewhat better shot of having success early than not. But that doesn't mean it's going to equate to wins. Especially
mhm,
he's going to have to go through his lumps as a rookie quarterback. which they all do. But I think he has the mechanism and his leadership skills, but his thought process and how he goes through his progression. He is a true quarterback. I'm gonna say this: a lot of people think you got to have all this talent, and he does have a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong, but his arm talent doesn't exceed Will Levis. But what he has in between his ears does, and that means he's been trained to be a quarterback. And I'd say Will Levis was more so an athlete playing quarterback.
Got
And
it.
so
Got it.
that part of it is missing. So I still believe Will Levis can be a really good quarterback. It's just going to take him a little bit longer. But
Yeah,
Cam
to
Ward
get it up
has it.
here.
Yeah, Cam Ward
Yeah.
has it already, and you can see it. He can see the whole entire field. He
Yeah.
always finds a way to get the ball to the open guy. It's really uncanny. He
Mhm.
has a quick release. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what kind of success he has because he's going to have to, meet some of the standards of having failure and how he responds to that at the NFL level. I think we've seen what he can do as he was a zero star and moved from different universities along the
Mhm.
way, from Carnet Word to Washington State to then Miami, the U.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
played a different, and so this guy's proven at every level. So until you see it, do you believe it? But boy, he has all the mechanisms that will make you successful in this league. Now he just got
Yeah. So Titans fans should be hopeful
they should be super
of
excited
this
about it. Yeah.
team. Yeah, I see a lot. I can tell there's a lot of confidence to him. He's very humble. He seems very humble. You can tell he's
Professional.
very smart. He understands the game better than honestly I'm sure most guys do. I'm gonna end it here because I know you gotta go. I would love to keep you on. I honestly got so many more things I would love to ask you, but definitely we'll try to book that again with you. I'll
Okay.
bug you maybe closer to the season.
Okay.
But thank you so much for coming on, man. Blaine Bishop, everybody, Titans legend. Anything else you would like to promote? Your social medias, your Instagram.
B Bishop 23 on X, Twitter, and then on IG Blaine Bishop 23.
Awesome. So everyone keep checking that. You know, we got your radio show. You got a bunch of shows going on all the time. You're working with the Titans. I don't know how you even have time for this here, so I appreciate you coming on. Seriously, man, I really do. All right, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed. Once again, thank you so much, Blaine. If you enjoyed the episode, give this episode a like and subscribe to the channel.